story. I'm going to go back to the beginning with my story. I'm going to talk about me a little bit more than my Usborne journey, because I think people have seen that before and it's trying to be a little bit different. So this is me in my back garden as a child. I had a pretty normal upbringing, to be honest. Mum, dad, brother, we were a staple family. Behind closed doors, every family has a secret. Mine was my dad had a drink problem. He wasn't a raging alcoholic, he wasn't horrible, but he could not sleep without drinking every night. It was something that was always on the back of our minds. It caused him problems with his health, problems with his weight, and it's something we had to deal with. But it wasn't all that bad, you know, school was fine, friends were fine, it was a pretty normal upbringing. Until this point. This is going to be the hardest slide of the day for me. This is my mum. In fact, this is the last picture that was ever taken of my mum. It was in December 1999, when I was 17 years old, and she had cancer. We knew she was going to die, we knew, we were prepared for that happening, and she passed away in February 2000. In 2020, nearly 20 years ago today, I lost my mum. Two things when I put this slide together. Firstly, I wasn't prepared for how young I looked, because in my head at 17 at the time, I thought I was an adult. As a 37-year-old, I look back and go, my God, I look like a child. And from that point, I was expected to be an adult, to change my life, to grow up and move on. The other thing that hit me is she'd be so proud of the fact that I'm stood here today with a photo of her on the screen and for what I've achieved. So it was quite an emotional thing to put that picture up there. And I don't think anyone expects to lose a parent. I know some people in the room have gone through that, and it's, you know, they're the rock, they're the person who's always been there to you, and to have that taken apart away literally changed things. I'll do the next slide. However, it didn't, because we knew she was going to pass away, I had made peace with it. I had dealt with it, and actually, when that day came and we got that phone call from the hospital to say she's passing her sleep, it was like a wave of relief. It was like, this is a new chapter starting in my life, which is why I've called them chapters of my life when I've gone through this. And it was that, this is okay. She would have done anything in her power to still be here. She couldn't, I'm at peace with it, we're at peace with it, we move on. What I wasn't expecting was what happened next. Is that my dad, the person I thought was now going to be my rock, completely broke. Like completely, he got off drink, but completely broke. He went on dating sites, he met someone new, he moved out the house. He literally sold the house from under my feet. I had to move out. And the result of that was I got kicked out of sixth form, not once, but twice. You have to work really hard to get kicked out of sixth form twice. I started drinking more and more and more, and I went onto a slippery slope of drugs and alcohol. And that became my life. I moved down to London with a boyfriend, got off the drugs, found myself with massive mental health problems. Literally had my first panic attack. I thought I was going to die. I went to A&E. I know some people will have experienced panic attacks. If you haven't, you can't really get it. No matter how much someone tells you how horrible it is, how much you can't breathe, you feel like your head's going to explode, you know, until you've been there and experienced it, it is the most horrible thing, and I wouldn't wish mental health problems on anyone. So along with my panic attacks, which I had pretty much constantly, I developed insomnia. I literally couldn't sleep. I would walk like this every single night, back and forward in our hallway, until about 6 a.m, when I'd fall asleep for about an hour, get up, and then somehow I managed to get a job in this state and have to get up and go to work. I was lucky that in one of the small parts I was in sixth form, I studied psychology, and we covered depression, and I knew that I needed help. So I went to my GP, I went to a London GP, he told me basically to get out. I wasn't like, I didn't have enough problems for my little nice white country town. So I went back to Essex, went back to my GP there and said I need help and I need counselling. And I demanded to have that counselling alongside the drugs. So I went on to antidepressants, I went on diazepam to stop the panic attacks and to help me sleep, and I started seeing a counsellor. 2.5 years later, I managed to get myself into a point that I could move on, and at that point I left my boyfriend, I came back to Essex, and started drugs again. Way! However, I was very lucky that I had my brother in my life who said, move up to Leamington Spa, come and live with us for a little bit. They just had a new baby. And that was the starting point of my next chapter, which won't click. Technology. We've got a problem. No, it's the battery that's the problem. In my bag. No, for my laptop. So, and this is me at 21, moved to Leamington. Dark hair, I decided I was going dark then because I needed to change who I was, reinvent myself, and start a new life really. And I remember, a bit like Keely with her passion planning, when I first got to Leamington, about 2 months in, I sat down one Sunday evening with a glass of wine, and I listed 10 things that I wanted to change in my life. It was to stop smoking, to drink less, to find a husband, have children, get married, buy my own house. And I started going about, it's one of those things that you do when you've had a glass of wine, you don't think anything off, and then it realised like a few days later that I'd hit really everything on that list. I met my now husband, and we bought a flat, which was fantastic. We had our first child, and things were going well. However, I did then walk out of my then job. Decided that I couldn't conform. You see, I had this habit, because I didn't like the person I used to be, I then self-sabotaged things in my life when they started to go right. So I got a good job, and then I walked out of it. And this is a habit that would repeat over and over and over again. And then came Usborne. So I didn't join for a business. I wasn't looking for that. In fact, I'd had a business previously that I had shut down about 3 months before because it had gone in a different direction than what I wanted. I was the person who went round to buy books for a coffee morning. Looked at it, saw the starter kit, went, you know what, I'd done Forever Living in the past, so I knew how network marketing worked. So I was like, I'll buy the starter kit, I'll place my first order, I don't want to do anything else. I did that, I thought, do you know what, I'll have a coffee morning myself. That would be my first order, I never have to look at it again. That coffee morning sold £387 worth of books, and I'd hit my kit boost. Didn't even know what kit boost was, but I suddenly got like this. I think Julie in the room, Julie actually, or Cheryl, sent me something through the post, and I was like, I don't know who these people are, or what is going on, but I've got like this chocolate through the post. Do you remember Jeannie, or whatever it was, we used to send parcel Jeannie? And then I saw something about the schools, and I was part of my PTA in my kids' school quite heavily, and I was like, do you know what, if I just do my 6 orders, then I can help my school, and then I never have to do anything with Usborne again. Then I can just put it aside and not do anything again. So I booked in a couple of events. It was the run-up to Christmas, so actually it was fairly easy. There was lots of school fairs, charity events, and I just booked into all of them. And then I suddenly got this email about this gala. It's like, oh, you're coming to the gala. I was like, what gala? They're like, oh, it's 15 minutes from your house. I was then pregnant with my 4th child. I was like, night away? Yes! I then found out, because I'd sold so much in November, I had money off my ticket price as well. So it really was like, well, half the ticket's paid, it's 15 minutes from my house, I get to sleep in my own bed that night. I was like, well, there's nothing to lose. However, I went there and it was amazing, it completely blew my mind. But I wanted to put this picture, because I don't know if you can see from the back, the fear in my bloody face on that thing, that person would not be stood up here today. It's a completely different version of me. And I think that's the thing with Usborne that we don't see or we don't talk about, and that's the growth that it brings in people as well. And I'm privileged to have so many leaders in the room tonight that I could pick out and say how they've grown, how they've changed, and how they've developed. I mean, Keely's a massive one for that. She's literally gone strength to strength to strength. But I think it's important, like Keely said, so many of you join this business now, and Keely and I have always been executive leaders to you. We've always been successful to you. Actually, we all start with the same box of books. All of us. We all start with that fear. None of us knows what we're doing. And then that highlights that to me. I literally hid at the back of that stage. I think I was up for kit boost or something at that point. And I wanted to get as far away from the camera, as far away from Mark. He's scary. Like, everything. I just wanted to hide, and you can see it in my eyes. I'm so uncomfortable with being on that stage at that point. It was just terrifying. However, as scared as I was, the message I got from that night was what this business could do. It was the stories, time and time again, of someone coming up and doing something like this and showing what it had given them, what it had given their family, and actually how they were also just a mum, how they were also, not unlike me. So I came away from that event and I went, what if I just try? What if I give this a go? What if I go all out and try and make this work for me? And that's what I did. The message I took away was that you needed to be a team leader. So that was the first thing that I decided to do. There was an incentive running as well for joiners at that time, so it seemed like a good idea. And I already had two people in my team actually. Bizarrely, I was one of those people that had the luckiest start ever. Whereas my sales were fine, and I randomly got a message one day from someone going, hey, I used to do Usborne, can I rejoin under you? And I was like, okay. And then the day of the gala, I had a message from someone else saying, oh, I think I want to do this, can I join under you? And I always say I was lucky and that was by accident. But actually, I was showing the books on my personal timeline to the people I was talking to. So I hadn't spoken about joining my team, but I'd always shown everyone that I was selling books and I was working with Usborne. So those people who already knew about Usborne knew that I was doing it and knew that they could come to me. So yes, it was lucky. Yes, I wasn't planning it, but actually I did take some action which resulted in that happening. So I went away from that gala, fired up. I think that was the 8th of January. By the 27th, I had my promotion to team leader. I went from a team with those 2 people to a team of 7. And we were starting to really, really enjoy ourselves. I felt like I was moving somewhere forward. I felt a little bit successful like Keely. I quite like that recognition, that pat on the back. And I got to go to my first leadership academy, which is here. And I would never forget Mark's face when I walked in, really heavily pregnant, and he went, when are you due? And I went, Thursday. He was like, oh! Luckily, Leadership Academy was only 20 minutes down the road from me, so if I needed to go, I could get home, and in fact I did drive home on the night, slept in my own bed and came back the next day. But again, I look back and it's a very, very different Sarah to who is stood here. I wasn't confident. I hid in the back of the room at Leadership Academy. I didn't really want to get involved. I loved the message that was there, but I was about to have a baby. I was overwhelmed with all these names that I saw all the time, like Maria Scrivens and these people who were achieving massive things that were so far, bigger than what I ever thought I could ever do, that I just wanted to hide in the corner. So I know that some people in the room today who feel out their comfort zone and things. We've all been through that, so if it's you, don't worry, because it was absolutely me. And then I struggled. So I didn't have this momentum of success that built and built and built for me. And I think people forget that sometimes. This was my first year and a half of my earnings. And it sort of steadied up, steadied down, steadied up. I didn't get to, unlike Keely, who came away from her first Leadership Academy and went on to get her next one, I didn't. I had mucked it up already. In fact, what I'd done is I had someone in the May going, I'm definitely 100% promoting to team leader in May. And I was like, brilliant. I don't have to worry about my volume then because I've got someone promoting out. I'll focus on the next month. People don't always do what they say. So I literally found myself in May, 2 months before I was going to have a baby, with absolutely no volume and nothing I could do about it. So in my first month in gold, or elite, or whatever it was called back then, I completely stuffed it up and wasn't coming back the next season. And I think for some people that could have probably broken them and gone, well, why am I bothering? But I did really like Leadership Academy and I wanted to come back there at some point, so it just made me more determined that the season after, I was going to get back into it. And you can almost see that's where the grass starts to move slightly, isn't that following season where I was like, no, I want to promote team leader, I want to get back. I didn't promote team leader. Oh no, I did. I don't know. Can't remember. Yes, I did. The person who said she was going to do it in May actually did it. No, she did it in August. So I didn't, because she did it in the season that I actually could have got gold for if I'd qualified in the May, but I hadn't. I completely mucked it up, promoted out a team leader, but still didn't get gold. That's quite special, that. So I didn't make it back in until the following one. But I went to another gala, and this time the travel incentive was Vegas. And that for me resonated so much, and I've told this story before. My husband has no interest in Vegas whatsoever, doesn't want to go, doesn't really get it at all. I'd always wanted to go there. So when that came up in the screen, I was like, I need that, I really, really need to be on that plane. I wanted it so bad. I hit the ground running. Halfway through January, I was convinced it wasn't going to happen. So if any more leaders in the room are struggling with volume now, is that? Okay. So, sorry, slides are gone, never mind. I really, really wanted it, but that January, I thought I was going to hit the ground running with recruiting. That was my plan. My previous Januaries, I'd had really good recruiting in the first week. That had carried my volume through, and that didn't happen. No one wanted to join. Every conversation I had was at the end of the month, at the end of the month, at the end of the month, which was great because I got to the end of the month and I had like 4 people join. But it meant my volume was absolutely nowhere near. And I remember speaking to my mentor halfway through the month going, it's not going to happen. I was like, I have no idea how to turn this around or what's going to happen. And she said, well, you can give up, come to peace with it, and just carry on with a new goal this year. She's like, well, you could go all out, give it your absolute all, and just go for it, and then you'll end the month either with that volume or without, knowing you've done absolutely in your power, everything in your power. So I decided to go for it. 3 days before the end of the month, I managed to get a school order from a school from a deputy head who had just redone their library. She literally said, yes, I want to do this. I dropped the catalogue round to her house in half an hour. She got the school credit card out, we drew the order together, and suddenly out of nowhere, I had that volume. Yeah, you can stay on this one. So then things changed. So this was my slow burn, my struggling, my ceiling. Stop it. It's slowly rising, getting there. So January was the point I decided I wanted to go to Vegas. I wanted it so much that I decided I was going to aim for double every part of the criteria, which meant 2 team leader promotions each season, double the volume of what we needed, hitting productivity every month, and going from there. It took until April, and I had 2 people promote to team leader, which was fantastic. Then in June, that made I promoted to group leader. They then started to promote leaders. I promoted more leaders. In the August, it went up to, I promoted to divisional leader. So I then had 4, I think I actually had 7. It went crazy that August. It was absolutely mental. In fact, we started the year here with 37 team members. By the time it got to here, we had 785 of us and 60 team leaders. It was absolutely crazy. So I had group leader, divisional leader, and then I had my executive leader promotion in the October. Like Keely, I'd sit and written a goal list. It wasn't in a passion planner. My executive leader promotion was meant for 2 years in advance. I was planning my group leader that year, my divisional leader the year after, and my executive leader. So it was there, I knew I wanted it, but I was never ever expecting that. But it came from taking off that limit, from going, actually, just because it says you have to have 1,800 to qualify every month, why the hell did I sit there for 18 months struggling to hit £1,800 every single month? As soon as I took that limit off, and I was aiming for more, I hit more. But we do it, if a target is there, we seem to sit there and go, this is what I need, this is what I'm going to plan for, and I'm going to put in as much work as I need to just about make that happen, and I won't put any more work in. Actually, if you take that limit away and just put the extra more in, you can achieve far, far more than you ever think you can. So, we got to Vegas. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like Keely struggled, I know, to get to India, and the thinking in your head, like about leaving your children. And Keely actually petrified me for Vegas, because